Hi,
Hi,
I'm Jill.
I'm Ray.
Are you ready to go cruising? Let's go cruising.
Let's do it. It's a beautiful morning.
Turn on the car.
That might be a good start too. Just turn your car on.
Put the seatbelt on.
I was in work mode. I'm sorry.
She's all trying to go.
Confidently too.
Just like that one day. Well, what did you do?
I forgot what I was complaining about. I was bitching about something, and I was just like, or no, sorry. I was like, screw this. And then I like went to turn the gear. You're like, well, turn the car on first. I'm like, damn it! Just casually pushed my handbag.
You were like covering your face. You were done.
I was. I forget what was going on that day, but I was done that day.
You were. I think it was just one of those like, just little inconveniences of stacking and stacking and stacking.
One of those
you were just like, come on.
Yeah, because I think, I remember it was a bad week because I think I had one after another happening to me. Yeah, that's right. That was during my blue week. And it was just
stupid shit too. Like you were like, especially that day because you didn't turn.
I was at the end.
You were hysterical laughing.
Yeah.
You were like, idiot.
What an idiot. Kind of a moron. Just going off on myself.
You were.
As I do. Cruising down Broadway. For anybody in the Denver area. Y'all know Broadway.
We're not talking the Broadway shows.
Oh, that'd be awesome. We'd be stuck in traffic. But that'd be awesome.
I like Broadway. There's so many things to do. It's kind of like the new scene, I guess, for going out. Not downtown anymore.
Kind of. I mean, when I just gotten my license and I had my car and everything, I would just cruise up and down Broadway with my friends back in the day.
In your hood.
Yep. My stomping grounds. Like I said, there's one of my little plates over there. And
heathens.
One of my scales that fell off.
My heathen ass was in Lakewood.
I could feel the tremble every now and then.
You felt a disturbance in the force whenever I came on this side. There's a witch nearby.
We cross paths every once in a while, I'm sure.
Not crazy.
Your herd cross with my herd.
What blows my mind is, I don't know, like I'm sure everybody thinks these thoughts at some point, but like I always get blown away when I'm like, had I not met you, my life would be really different.
Really though? Like I think that all the time with a lot of people.
Well, because especially if you want to call it the domino effect, because if I hadn't met you, I would have never met Kyle.
Nope.
Like, I wouldn't be with Kyle today if I didn't meet you. Isn't that weird?
Very.
Because Kyle was like, he lived way on the other side of town.
Other side, yeah.
There was no way we would have ever like.
No, you met him through Roland. Well, Roland through me.
Yeah, because you were dating his friend. So, and even then, I still think it's crazy that I was with my ex during the time, but I still didn't meet him until way after.
Yeah.
Way after.
Still way after. Yep.
Like. That, I don't know. It just kind of blows my mind when you think about stuff like that. Like, had I not done this, what would have happened?
I was telling Roland how I couldn't afford the audition to New York when I was in school and I wanted to fly out and, persuade my career out there. But I was like, but it didn't work out that way. And I was like, but on the plus side, I would have never met you. I would have never had my babies, little Gerber and Pistachio.
But do you ever think that if you did go, you think you'd be Titus in New York right now?
I would hope. I would hope.
Like, still trying, but, like, like...
Oh, like that
still phase. Yeah.
Maybe. That's the other thing. I don't know if it would have been, like, a waste of money. I don't know if it would have gone somewhere. I don't know if I would still be living out there.
It's things like that make me think, like, what would have happened had you gone? Or, like, you know what I mean? Like...
I don't know. Maybe in a past life I was a Broadway star. and that's why I crave it.
No, I remember you were the Frenchie on the Titanic.
Oh
and
no! Don't re-traumatize me. I just got over that.
And then you were a mobster in the 40s.
That's better.
30s. Maybe 30s.
Probably still owned a Frenchie. The little suit. Could you imagine? Oh my god.
What would your mobster name be?
Knuckles. You know it would be or steel, because I have my knife all the time. I like Knuckles better.
Knuckles.
Knuckles.
Oh man.
I don't know what other name.
I like Knuckles. My phone's on that. Oh man. But yeah, I don't know. I think about weird shit like that all the time. And then the past lives stuff.
Oh yeah.
I would like to know if I had one. You know, like
I'm
they
sure
go.
you
You have what do you call it? Hypnosis.
Yeah.
And you can. There's one that you can see if you get in touch with the old soul that's inside you.
No way.
That's what I've heard. I don't know if that's like really a thing or
That'd
if
be
that was from just a movie.
mind-blowing.
That would, that would. But it's kind of like a therapy thing. Again, I don't know if this is from a movie or if I'm just pulling this out of my ass, but I'm pretty sure I read it somewhere that I don't know. But you go under hypnosis and then you I guess your past life comes out and talks through you. I don't know how that works, but.
I feel like I have seen something like that, like on a movie, but again, I don't know if it's something legit or.
That would be really cool, though.
Yeah.
I would want to know, I want to talk to my old soul that was a pirate.
I want to talk to all of them.
Yeah, all of them. I wonder how many there are.
I know. I was gonna say I'd probably be sitting there all day though, just like.
9:30. Why? Okay. We hardly ever do these in the morning.
Ever.
So
This is our first morning one.
I feel like they're getting morning gel right now.
Yeah.
She's not very nice.
Yeah, she's kind of a jerk. At least she's a quiet jerk, but.
I just need a minute. I have my coffee, so I'll be nice now. But I'm still tired.
You're just grogs. That's all.
I'm not a morning person.
I was telling Roland how when you were petting Gerber and talking to him, he's like,
yeah, he talks all like
soft spoken, and then as soon as I say something,
he does though. He screams at you.
He does.
Like, what?
Jerk.
He tells on you all the time.
He does.
Like, what happened, Gerbs? What happened?
He
He's all
milks it with his knee knob.
I'm like, oh, my poor prince.
He yelled at Roland last night. It was funny. Roland came downstairs from using the bathroom, and then Gerber's just ham loafing on this side of the couch, and all of a sudden he looks over at Roland. Roland's like, what? Why are you looking at me like that? He's like, yeah.
Oh my god.
It was a long one.
What did he do?
He didn't even touch him.
Something happened.
I
He's
was
mad.
Like, yeah, I was like,
Like, I'm
geez.
salty.
He has a fishbone to pick with you.
Well, I guess we're rambling at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So, today we're covering on the topic of our favorite subject, history.
It's roots, isn't it?
Is it roots or history?
It's roots.
Roots.
Pretty sure it's roots.
Girl, it's 9:30 in the morning and I've been awake for like 3 hours.
Shush. It's a historical route we're going with.
But roots. Today's roots is Cray Ray.
Yep.
Ray's.
Okay.
But yeah, Cray Ray's roots. Chilean.
Yes.
More specifically, yes.
So going, definitely deep.
I don't mean chili, like the food.
No, not that. We're definitely diving deep into my roots, and more specifically, something big that happened in the country. So obviously Chile. So I'm gonna need my notes though before I just dive right in.
But I don't don't know if anyone's ever been to Chile. I haven't. I really want to go.
Beautiful.
What's it like down there? Like, what is it? Hot weather all the time? Or?
Well, I'm glad you asked. So, for example, when it's like Christmas time and whatnot, with Christmas time in Chile, it's summer. So it's a little bit different. I remember when we were flying there, when we got there, we were all hot because we all had like our little parkas and jackets and stuff on, and we're like, oh, we're definitely not dressed correctly. And when we left Chile, we show up to Colorado and we're wearing shorts and freaking flip-flops and sandals and cold nonetheless. But we would stay out there for a good 6 weeks when we did go, and I just love visiting family. I need to go back again. It's just expensive.
Always good to visit family.
Always. But with these roots, even though a lot of this is information that I know from my family and firsthand, I did get a lot of it from Wikipedia just to have a source, and also so that way it's easy for you guys to look up so you can kind of dive more into detail. But I'm going to start off, though, with the main subject, which is the Chilean Coup d'etat, and that was in 1973. Another word for this, or another phrasing for this, is also called the other September 11th. Because this was technically, this was technically like the first September 11th that was very well known of. So, yep. Because I remember when I was growing up, I would hear my mom and aunt talking about it, and they would call it el 11 de septiembre. And this was obviously before what happened.
9/11.
Yeah, before our 9/11. And so it always really threw me off when they kept talking about it. I'm like, did you
hear
know?
9/11 and you're like,
yeah, and it threw me off. I'm like, did you know this was going to happen? But no, this was a totally different history.
wow, that's crazy. I didn't even know that.
So it was essentially a military overthrow of the government in Chile, which was led at the time by President Salvador Allende. And my abuelo Fernando, or my grandpa, he was essentially his right-hand man. And this is not meant to be a political episode. I am not one for politics, as much as apparently my...
We're just telling you the history.
Yeah, we're giving you history and good to know stuff, but as biased as I am with my own family, I am not a political person. So just throwing that out there.
Yeah, so just don't take any of this personally. This is just history.
Yeah.
We're just talking.
But Allende was the first socialist to be elected president in a Latin American liberal democracy. So on September 11th, 1973, a group of military officers led by General Augusto Pinochet seized power.
So I'm guessing he's a bad guy.
Yeah, he is the ass lint of society. But he seized power in a coup, ending civilian rule. So as a result of this fool, the country was put under heavy military control. So there was little and organized civil resistance. There was death and disappearances of over thousands. And Augusto Pinochet just assumed power. He officially was declared president in late 1974. So we're going to go more in depth here with each of the, what do you want to call it?
I've been so waiting for this story for a really long time.
I'm glad.
Because she's been telling me about this here and there, but she's never told me the actual story, like how I'm going to hear it today.
Oh, there's many a story, girl.
Because, like, I don't know anything about this. Like, this is all new.
So,
I've never heard of any of it. And
I'm going to get into it with the leaders here, because you have to know a little bit about each of them to understand, like, this almost seemed like a personal fight within these leaders, but it was also a personal fight within these these groups and campaigns, I guess. Salvador Allende, he was born June 26, 1908 in Santiago, Chile. He was known as a Chilean physician and socialist politician who served as the 28th president of Chile. So he served, I believe, from November 1970, I think that says, to September 11th, 1973. So his parents were Salvador Allende Castro and Laura Gossens Uribe. They belonged to upper middle class and had a long tradition of political involvement. So this dude already was born into it as a thing. But as a teenager, his main intellectual and political influence came from a shoemaker named Juan de Marchi, who who was an Italian anarchist. So he was also, though, a talented athlete and a member of a sports club in Everton de Viña del Mar. And Viña del Mar is like a bougie area. Like, I've been there just to visit and stuff, and the beach is wonderful, but that's where they have, like, concerts when, like, big names come to visit. The Beatles did a show at Viña del Mar before.
Oh, so it's just a hot spot.
Yeah.
Almost touristy.
Yes, definitely. And at age 18, he studied medicine, and this was in 1926. And he went to the University of Chile in Santiago. And there he was elected the president of the Student Center. And then in 1929, he was elected vice president of the Federation of Students of the university. And then in 1930, he became representative of the students of the School of Medicine. And then 1931, relegated to the north and then expelled from the university. So that same year, though, he just retook his 6th year of medical school, and then he graduated at 23. So this dude knew what he was doing. Like, he was smart. He almost feels like he had a thought and just went for it. In 1933, he became chairman of a section of the Socialist Party. And around that time, he married his wife, Hortensia Bussi, and they had 3 daughters, Isabel Allende, Beatriz Allende, and Carmen Paz Allende. Now, why the crisis? So, Chile used to be known for a symbol of democracy and political stability in South America. Like, they had their shit together. And other countries were already suffering under military control. And Chile was one of the ones that didn't have that going on. So, historian Peter Wynne, he described the 1973 coup as one of the most violent events in Chilean history. And in 1988, there was an internationally supported peaceful transition to a democratic government. So in June 29th of that same year, Colonel Roberto Super failed a coup attempt around the presidential palace. And I've seen that palace. It's huge.
Is it like, what does it look like?
They call it...
Palace?
It kind of just looks like a Capitol building.
Oh, okay. Because, like, you know, when you hear palace, you think of, like, a princess castle or, like, something.
Definitely.
You know what I mean? Like, I know, I'm like, okay, what am I going to...
It definitely wasn't that.
I figured, that's why I asked what it looked like.
But at this point, though, now the military is starting to try to take over the government. So here later on, I'll get into more details as to what was going on and, like, all the... protests and whatnot that were happening. But now I'm getting into the other dictator. And from my mom's own mouth, I asked her, how would you describe Pinochet? She was like, asshole. I'm like, okay. Now, I understand if you do know, like, this history and if you have your sides and opinions, you're entitled to it. That's fine. But maybe like you, this is also really sensitive to me, so here's my opinion. But I agree. He's an ass. I'm putting it lightly.
Sounds like he, just like what has happened in the world before, you know, like Hitler and, like, you know, all
Mussolini.
of the, Mussolini, and even in, you know, Mexico and stuff like that. It's just Chile just had theirs. It's terrible. It's a sad repeat of history.
He was a traitor. She said, I'll get into it later on what she said, but yeah, he was essentially a traitor. So Pinochet, he was born Augusto José Ramón Pinochet Ugarte, and he was born November 25th of 1915, and thankfully died December 10th, 2006. He was a Chilean general and dictator who took over Chile from 73 to 1990.
Damn.
His rule, unfortunately, remains the longest of any Chilean leader. And that's because he forced it. He just took it. Like, nobody voted him. He just took it.
He was a dictator, like you said. He literally dictated the country.
Just completely took it over. And that's essentially what happened. He did rise through the ranks in the Chilean army before he did become commander-in-chief on August 23rd, 1973 by Salvador Allende. Yeah, so he started from the bottom, then he got there.
From the bottom, now
And the fool ended up taking over just shortly after, on September 11th, 1973. Not even a full month after that, and he took over. Regardless of the traitor that he was, he knew his shit when it came to the military. Obviously, he moved up in rank very quickly.
He was a general.
And he was friends, like his right-hand man to Salvador Allende. And then he just turned around. So in his memoirs, Pinochet said himself he was the leading plotter of the coup. But then in many years, other high military officials would say that Pinochet reluctantly became involved a few days prior to the coup occurring. So it can go either way. Honestly, I kind of think the latter more than the former. And I'm just thinking this because he was friends with Allende. He did work closely with him. So he probably did have some hesitation, but then was like, screw it, I want power. So he just took it. Literally took it.
I mean, power does that to a lot of people. It corrupts many.
Now, during that takeover, there's a big conspiracy as to what happened to Allende, because Allende did end up passing away on that day, on September 11th, 1973.
Oh, come on.
People say he either committed suicide when the coup took over. A lot of people think he was assassinated.
What do you think?
I think he was assassinated.
I mean, again, I don't know any of this, but just judging from what you just told me, oh yeah, I would say taken out.
Yeah, he got took out for sure.
Taken out of the way.
He has 5 children. Not him. He has kids. He has like 3 daughters. He has a wife. I don't think he was that type of guy to take himself out like that. And with my grandfather working very closely with Allende, I just can't. I can't see that.
Damn. That just makes it even more sinister.
Yeah. So, at that point, though, now the new government has rounded up thousands of people and held them in the National Stadium, where many were killed, following brutal repression during this asshole's rule. And approximately 30,000 people were killed, and about 1,000 more are still missing.
And those were people that were against him,
yep.
I'm sure?
Yep.
Jeez.
Wow. He essentially ended civilian rule and persecuted leftists, socialists, and just political critics. Anybody against him, he chased down in some way.
He just terrorized this whole country.
Yeah, you saw how long, from 1973 to 1990.
A long time.
It's a long time.
It's a really long time.
It's almost like V for Vendetta, and that's why when I called my mom earlier, I was asking her more like detail, and she was like, "Yeah, it was kind of like that." And I'm like, "How scary!"
Good movie, but yeah, scary to live in a society that's like that.
My mom was only around 15, 16 when this was going on. Yeah, she was young,
and that's old enough to remember so much.
Yeah, and mind you, again, she was the middle of 13 kids.
Shit.
Yeah, my tia Berta was already married. She was like 19 or 20, already married and had 2 sons at this point.
Scary.
Yeah, but I did see recently, actually a few months ago, a story. I can't remember if it was from Texas or from California. I'm pretty sure Texas, but this guy, he knew he was adopted. He roughly knew like that he was from South America. I don't know if he knew he was from Chile. But he found his mom, and he was part of the group, the Desaparecidos. So basically, back then, you would give birth in these hospitals where they're run by government officials and stuff, and they would take your baby and say your baby died. But they would just sell them or, give them to other families, adopt them out.
So they can be
to Americans.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that's why he came all the way up here.
Wow.
That happens a lot, actually. I've seen a couple other articles like that where people take DNA tests and they realize they're from Chile. Snooki could be one.
Damn.
Yeah. I don't know Snooki's life, but I'm just saying. I'm sorry, Snooki.
Fucking Snooki.
But apart from him taking everybody, and again, just putting them in this stadium, and most of these people were men, like husbands, uncles, fathers, grandfathers, brothers, sons, nephews, all of that. Mostly men. And there were women who would stand outside of the stadium, sometimes in front of the palace or La Moneda, and they would protest by banging their pots and pans. They would dance the cueca by themselves as a sign of like, where's our men?
Yeah, like how you brought up in that
the last Roots episode. So it's it's difficult. And like I said, to this day, a lot of those people don't know if they're missing how they were tortured, because my mom even mentioned that when they tortured, it wasn't always physical.
Oh.
So there wouldn't be evidence, per se, that you were being tortured, depending on who you were.
Brainwashing.
It could have been that, yeah. Brainwashed you.
Just
anything. Like, they could have beat somebody to a pulp and they just don't remember anything anymore. They could have actually killed them. They don't know. So now we're going into my abuelo Fernando. Because, again, this happened for ages. And, well, ages, I mean several years. Almost 20, 30 years.
It's been ages since I had a coffee.
Yeah. Almost 20 years this was going on. But my abuelo Fernando, a little bit about him. He was born in August of 1926-ish. For some reason, my mom has no idea. The youngest in the family, my tia Chope or my tia Ruth, she would know, but I didn't feel like doing an international call at the moment. And then he passed away March of 1996. And I met my grandfather when I was about 2 years old. I have very vague memories of him. And one of them, apparently, he was watching TV, and I tried to kick him out to go take a nap so I could watch the TV. And he was like, look at this. Yeah. I was already like, abuelo, go take your nap. Go take your siesta. Anda a dormir a tu cuarto. I was kicking him out.
You little butt.
Now, I asked my mom, I was like, so how was abuelo Fernando in connection with Allende? So essentially, he worked for Allende's campaign. He helped set up that campaign, just in general. He got him started, it sounds like. So they worked very closely, but my mom claims that they weren't like intimate friends. But from what I'm hearing, they were just really close, at least co-workers.
Okay.
So maybe not like our level, but
either way, they had a relationship, and it was work.
Exactly. It was the campaign.
Yeah.
It was to help people.
But he knew him. And
that was my grandpa's biggest thing. People loved him. Everybody loved my grandpa. And it was because he helped. He tried everything he could all the time to help mostly the poor people. But if you needed help, my grandpa was always there to help you.
The Chilean Robin Hood.
Yeah. 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 So, again, going back to my mom's personal opinion of Pinochet. Asshole. Traitor and dictator. So, when Pinochet took over, my abuelo was obviously out of a job. But he was essentially forced to quit. So, from what my mom states, he worked his normal, morning to evening job and would come home and then do the same thing the next day. Every day. At some point, he was taken when he went to work and he was interrogated. He never said to anybody what happened. If he was imprisoned, if he was tortured, he would not talk about it. I personally think he was tortured in some way. Because I asked her, I was like, do you remember him coming home with like cuts and bruises or anything? She was like, oh no, the military wouldn't touch him in that way. There's other ways of torture. And how casual she said it was also so crazy to me.
That's just, that's so scary.
Yeah, like just so casual. And I was afraid for her as she was talking about this. And she said that, my mom's not 100% sure, like, exactly how this happened. But at one point, my grandpa did almost get, like, gunned down. And it probably would have come to my family being gunned down, too. But my grandpa, even though he was well-liked by many, he had his demons. I'd heard with personal relationships, he wasn't that great. And he was a fan of drinking. In that time, honestly, too, with the crap going down, I don't blame him.
He was human.
He was human, but...
No one's perfect. No one's good all the time.
But because of the coup, there was curfew. And they were hard on that curfew. And that's what reminded me of V for Vendetta.
I was just gonna say that now. It really does sound like V for Vendetta.
Because then I asked my mom, I was like, now you were 15, 16, do you remember, like, the military patrolling? She was like, yeah, they would walk the streets with guns and just look for people that were...
It just, like you said, how casual she is about it. That was her life.
That was her
every
life.
Day. That was normal.
Yes. So I'm sure she was scared, but at the same time, like you said, that was normal. But she was 15. Jeez. That wasn't always normal for her.
No. And, I mean, that's not normal. That's not how it should be.
No, but for her young
At all.
siblings, that's how they started growing up. So, at that point, when the military was patrolling the streets, they would beat up, torture, kill, or imprison whoever they got their hands on. And it happened to be my grandpa at this point. Because he went drinking, and he was stumbling home. He was just walking home from going drinking.
Take advantage of that.
And the military caught him. But as they were about to shove him into the truck, the head of the military comes out. He's like, wait. Comes up to him and in her words, no, este huevón, yo conozco. Which means, this dumbass, I know. He said that like, I know this fool. Like, it'd be like if I saw you like, no, I know this bitch. She's fine.
Like, wait. Hold on.
Yeah.
Don't take this, bitch. I know this one.
Yes.
Let me deal with it.
Essentially, he was like, no, let him go. They gave him a ride home.
Wow, he's so lucky.
And he told them, don't bother him or his family ever again.
That's really lucky.
Yes, and my mom thinks the same thing. They all think, my whole family thinks like God was there for him that day. Whether or not you believe, something was helping him that day. And again, everybody loved my grandfather. His funeral, when he finally did pass away, was one of the largest in Chile.
Wow.
Almost the entire city went. And mind you, this was after. Yeah, this was definitely after the coup.
96, you said, right?
Yes. And I was maybe 4 at the time at this point, because he passed from a heart attack shortly after we came back from Chile. But like I said, he tried to help everybody. So he knew everyone in the community. He knew everybody in Puente Alto and Santiago. And with him working in the government, working with campaigns, and then just being part of the community, of course he had a ton of people love him.
That's crazy.
And I think, honestly, that's where I get a lot of my...
How cool.
I think that's where a lot of my, like, give people the benefit of the doubt for myself. It's like a love-hate thing. But I always try to see the good in somebody. I really always do. I try. Or I try to help or find a solution if I can, especially for people that I care about. But he showed it. And, I mean, as much as he could try to help, Pinochet did a number on people. And that brings me to Isabel Allende, because now that's pretty much the end of the coup. Pinochet ended up passing away, like, in 1990, there were protests that were finally starting to come out again, because people were afraid for many, many years, from what my mom was saying. And my tia Chope, again, the youngest one, she was one of the ones to go out there and protest to get him out of office. She's like, get out! Like, get out! Finally they got him out of office, and then he passed away. That part I couldn't find yet. I think they just essentially just finally voted him out. Like, they were just persistent, trying not to start another coup, but they just persistently got him voted out, or I think he ended up giving in and maybe retiring on top of that too. I will say something I forgot to write down. He was finally, like, 2003 to 2006, he was finally charged for everything he did.
Finally? And at this point, he's like, what? How old?
Decrepit.
90?
Yeah. But he was finally charged. Him and a couple of other military officers for the crap that he did.
So what, he was just in prison for the rest of his life?
Yeah, if you want to call it that.
Ugh.
Yeah.
How unsatisfying.
Really, though. But Isabel Allende, I'm a little confused, I'm ashamed to say, because the author, it says that her dad was the first cousin of Salvador Allende, but Allende had a daughter named Isabel. So I'm like, is this the same one? But she's the famous novelist, and she's awesome.
They mentioned her in Jane the Virgin, don't they?
Yes. I love her. She has received a ton of writing and novelist rewards from all over. From Mexico, from Chile, Germany, US, France, Denmark, you name it. And to this subject, because she has many books, obviously, but to this subject specifically, I would highly recommend you guys read House of Spirits. It goes kind of into a non-fictional, I guess, detail, but there's like characters in the book. There's actually a 1993 movie with Meryl Streep, Winona Ryder, Glenn Close, Antonio Banderas, and Jeremy Irons.
The one Latino in the...
Right. But, yep, same thing. It's called House of Spirits.
Good
and
cast.
And it definitely just goes into what happened.
So the House of Spirits is a fictionalized story of what happened?
Yeah, I think I haven't read it in a minute.
Because she writes novels, right? Like,
yeah.
Fiction. And
it's definitely true of what happened.
She used the event and made a story?
I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe so.
I'll have to try to find that on Audible.
Because I was so young when my sisters read it, and then when they told me to read it, and I don't really remember much of it. And my mom wouldn't let me watch the movie at the time, because I guess there's a part where...
I'm sure you've seen it since, or have you seen it?
I'm nervous, too.
You really?
Yeah.
Why?
Because I feel like I'd get emotional.
I mean, well, yeah, but...
You know how I am with movies.
That shouldn't stop you.
No, it shouldn't. I'm still saying it's a great movie. You heard the cast. But Helen told me that there's a part where they, like, beat the crap out of Winona Ryder.
It's a disturbing...
It's a triggering movie, is what I should say. And either way, it's great. And...
I mean, I will say it is hard to watch movies that are like that. Like, even, like, war movies and...
You're free that.
They're good, but it's hard to watch reality of it.
Well, when it's a well-made movie, you feel it.
And
that's what's hard.
Especially when they don't sugarcoat it.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you know, in history books, of course, they're going to sugarcoat this and that and whatever. But sometimes when you get into a depth of a personal story or, like, kind of really dig into what actually happened, it's brutal. And it's hard to watch. I can see that.
I'm just happy, like, I'm proud, I guess, with my abuelo. I do have a tío. My abuelo Fernando. I mean, there's many things, don't get me wrong, in his personal life that do disappoint me. But with what he did for his community, what he did for the people, man, he was a hero.
That's really cool that you have that
connection,
that history in your family. I wish I knew more about mine. We kind of don't know much about.
I'm a little surprised my mom would really went into detail with some of that.
That's awesome.
She's always been kind of secretive about that. Now I kind of see why, because it was freshly ended when I would, like, ask her questions, and maybe it was, like, 10 years later, but still, you know, it's still a sensitive topic to you.
Well, and then if you've been scared for so long to, like, it just habit to, oh, you don't talk about that. No.
It's probably one of the reasons why she came here, because she came up here in 83 to marry my dad.
It's exactly what she did.
Not for a green card, guys.
No, to get away from her.
She knew my dad. He went to a camp down there.
Falling apart country, man.
Yeah, they were writing letters to each other, and she took advantage. She was like, okay, yeah, this is
like
an
how we were
opportunity.
saying in the beginning, do you think had, like, this event never happened, do you think your mom would have still come to the U.S.?
I don't think so.
She'd still be down there?
Probably. From what she told me, she had 2 prior engagements.
Yeah, your mom was young and hot. Leave her alone. Better get the action.
But, ew. But anyway, yeah, that's a little bit about my family history and a little bit about what happened.
I really want to watch the movie, and I really want to read the book now.
You should read the book first. You should totally read the book. See if there's like an Audible.
I knew nothing about this.
Yeah, and that's kind of why, though, I wanted to get into that with roots and history, because a lot of people don't know about this.
And there's so many other countries that have the same thing, and we don't know.
I went over that, actually, in high school, I remember, and I remember a lot of because we had to present it and stuff in history class, and a lot of the students were, like, interested in it. They were like, oh, that's kind of cool.
I mean, not cool, but it's, like, interesting.
Yeah. So, yeah, if you guys want to get more into it, like I said, read House of Spirits, watch the movie if you're not a reader, but listen to us as well, too.
Yeah, you can listen to us on YouTube, Let's Go Cruising podcast with Jel and Ray. And you can follow us on Instagram at Let's Go Cruising Podcast. Or you can email us, Let's Go Cruising Podcast at Gmail.
If you have a story similar to mine or a connection to that,
an event that your family history is part of.
If you're maybe from Chile, but you don't know about your family history because you're adopted, I would love to know about that.
Feel free to email
Please email. Maybe put this up out of sea though or something in the subject.
We haven't gotten emails yet, but don't be afraid. You guys can talk to us.
Definitely.
I know we're Latino bitches, but we're not that mean.
but yes, like and subscribe to us.
Yeah. Share us, like us, subscribe. Do all the things. Talk about us.
Help us out.
And let's go cruising again, okay?
All right.
Next week, it'll be my turn.
Heck yeah.
So we'll cruise next week.
All right, guys. We're going to enjoy the day.
Go cruise me to a coffee, because I want another coffee. Okay. Damn it. It's 10 a.m. and I'm still awake.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.